You're listening to Cosmic Cousins Soul-Centered Astrology. I am your host, Jeff Henshaw. Thanks for tuning in. Cosmic Cousins is dedicated to honoring the interconnectedness of our universal family through embodied health, self-discovery, and deeper learning. Cosmic Cousins is released on each new and full moon, and it is here to bring you back into alignment with the cosmos. So thank you for being here as always. Hey, Cosmic Cousins. Welcome to this Cancer Full Moon podcast episode. It is an honor to be here with you as always. We have a special episode. We're going to dive deeper into this invitation of the Capricorn Cancer polarity. We're going to chat about the North Node in Taurus. North Node is shifting on into Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, and this takes us into the next year and a half. So I think it'll be good for us to check in with that. A few other topics that we're going to check in with. It's an energy update. This is going to be the new way that we're doing the show. So as we head into this new year, 2022, I will still be releasing episodes on each new and full moon. And then I will be going deeper into what I'm calling the energy update. So we're going to be looking at the chart for this full moon, and we'll go over each planet and what its upcoming transits are. So the episodes are going to be a little bit deeper into the current transits, which I'm excited to explore with you. So we're going to cover Mercury Retrograde, Venus Retrograde, Mars entering Capricorn, Jupiter in Pisces, Pluto in Capricorn, all the things we're going to be getting into today. We're also going to look at Betty White's birth chart. This full moon is her 100th birthday. It would have been her 100th birthday. She just passed away, so we're going to honor the life of Betty White and look at her birth chart. We're also going to honor the incredible life of Martin Luther King Jr. in honor of his birthday as well. Both of these figures are Capricorn Sun. So yes, happy birthday to all the Capricorns out there listening. This is your time of year. And for those of you with Cancer, also, this is a special full moon for you. So let's get into it. Before we do that, though, I do have some announcements that I'd like to make. And the first one is that this is the last chance to enroll in this year's Fool's Journey. And so if you are hoping to deepen your practice with the tarot this year, I'm hosting another year of the Fool's Journey. This is my 7th year leading it. And the Fool's Journey is a 22-week ritual immersion through the major arcana of the tarot. So we gather each week from the Fool to the World, and in it we will deepen our connection to the relationship that tarot and astrology have together. We're going to dive into the philosophy of the Fool's Journey and how you can use it as a tool for gifting you vocabulary for the evolution of your life and the different spirals and cycles that you will go through in your own life. So yes, this journey started last week, but there's still time to catch up with the journey. So if you'd like to learn more, click the link below. Enrollment will close on the Aquarius new moon in 2 weeks. And so I hope to hear from you. Yes, so link in the show notes or cosmiccousins.com and click on Fool's Journey. Also, this is an episode that is in honor of our Patreon supporters. So thank you so much to our Patreon supporters of Cosmic Cousins. It means the world to me that you tune into this podcast and that you value it enough to make a monthly contribution. So in honor of our Patreons, I will be gifting one of you, a very lucky patron, their very own I Light Tarot. The I Light Tarot. This deck is absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot wait to gift it to one of you. It is a rather large tarot deck. It feels almost hand-painted when you touch it. And I think only 1,000 copies of it were printed. I learned of it at a shop called Cargo here in Portland, Oregon, and I was immediately entranced by it. It has very kind of almost like psychedelic colors, and it is very just otherworldly and beautiful. And it is actually produced by Modest Mouse, which I found quite interesting. So The I Light Tarot, I will be announcing the winner on the Aquarius New Moon podcast episode January 31st. And again, that is in honor of our very generous Patreon supporters. And since this is the Cancer full moon, and Cancer is in my 6th house of work and service, Cancer is the sign of family, I wanted to read a list of our generous Patreon supporters just to thank you. We have quite a few. I think there's 30 of them. So we're all sending you love, Patreon supporters, on this Cancer full moon episode. Without you, this show would not be possible. And so thank you so much. So here are our Patreon supporters: Liz Wolfson, Allison Rose DeTemple, Andrea Breitman, Derek Murray, Maggie George, Wimberly Ann, Courtney Dawson, Claudia C., Anya K., Eve Lovegood, Alice Arden, Megan Kelly, Beth Wilson, May Toon, Sarah Caruth, Abigail Strain, Dana Wall, Casanti W., Britton LaRue, Haley Elizabeth Wolfson, Jasmine, Jenna Barnes, Cassandra Solano, Erica S., Nikki Sewell Mueller, Megan Nicole Boyd, Kelsey L., Sarah Kennedy, Jesse P., John B., Jamie I., and Carla Jameson. Thank you so much, Patreon supporters. It was so cool to read off that list because many of you have done the Fool's Journey, or we have worked together one-on-one with an astrology reading, and it's really cool to see the community that we're building here. And again, without you, this show would not be possible. So thank you. We're going to continue to honor you. Next time, one of you will be announced as the winner of the I Light Tarot. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter of Cosmic Cousins, you can click the link in the show note or go to patreon.com/Cosmic Cousins. I've also just recently put up a new offering to only Patreon supporters, and it's a video that is of me as a guest teacher for the Body Temple community, and it's a lecture. It's called Astrology in the Body, and in this lecture we dive deep into the 12 astrological signs and their correlating body parts. So if this is something you're interested in, if you become a Patreon supporter, you'll be given the link to watch that 2-hour lecture on astrology in the body. In addition, I have astrology and tarot readings available for March and April of 2022, cosmiccousins.com for that. And also, I had the incredible opportunity to be the guest on the Spiritual Gayz podcast. If you don't know this podcast, I highly recommend it. It's hosted by my 2 friends and incredible humans, husbands, Brandon Alter and Angel Lopez. They're based out of Los Angeles. And on this episode, we laugh our butts off and explore the astrology of 2022. So I put a link in the show notes to that one too. So yes, that is all the announcements I have for you for today. And at this time, let's go ahead and get into our Cancer full moon podcast episode. You can start by bringing your awareness to your body and your breath as we transition into that now. I nurture, I reflect, I heal. I nurture, I reflect, I heal. These are the 3 phrases for our Cancer full moon. Blessings to you on this gorgeous full moon. This is the first full moon of 2022. And it offers us this balance to Capricorn season. And, Capricorn, it's responsible, it's hardworking, putting structures and order back into our life. Cancer is here to balance that, and it balances the very practical, goal-oriented tendencies of this time of year with nurturance, with love, with protection and care. And so Cancer is here to remind each and every one of us just how loved and supported we are. And so breathe that into your body. I am loved and supported. And just notice where you might be resisting that. What parts of you don't believe that? And can you release those on this full moon? And so Cancer's body parts are the breasts, the rib cage, the belly, the armpits, And so let's connect to these parts of the body. It's also the side body. You can think of a crab moving side to side. So doing side stretches are really great during Cancer full moon, or for those of you with a lot of Cancerian energy, you might store emotion here in the side body. We all do, but particularly those who have more Cancerian energy. And so you are loved and supported, breathing that into the side body, the belly, the breast, the rib cage. And so with a Cancer full moon, there's opportunities for illumination. Full moons illuminate themes in our life. Illumination and also deep healing around the Cancerian themes of home, motherhood, family, relationships, security, belonging. These are all likely to arise under the light of this lunation. And this particular full moon is a bit more heightened because it is in opposition to Pluto and Capricorn. So there may be a heightened level of emotional intensity. This is Pluto, psychological processing, and awareness of death and rebirth, particularly as it relates to Capricorn themes, because it's Pluto in Capricorn. And so death and rebirth to the government, society, career, authority, father, patriarchy. So there is that pull, full moon in Cancer across from Pluto and Capricorn. And so it's important to note that this full moon is in direct opposition to the upcoming Pluto return point for the United States of America. So this full moon is at the 27th degree of Cancer, and Pluto is at the 27th degree of Capricorn in the United States birth chart. And we're coming up on the first ever United States Pluto return. So there is something here in this point of this Cancer full moon that feels important, and it is perhaps bringing up from the unconscious or the subconscious these themes that are in need of healing. And so, for me as an astrologer, when I look at what's going on collectively, we can note that the reported number of COVID-19 cases are at an all-time high. And so this Cancer full moon encourages us to rest, to heal, to connect with home, to protect our family. So I've been, around me and my community, I would say probably about 50% of the people I know have tested positive. So I am staying at home and I'm hanging out with my dog Biji. I've rearranged the furniture in my home. This is likely my Virgo moon coming in, but I have been working with lighting, lights. This is interesting. The esoteric phrase for Cancer is I build a lighted house and therein dwell. So I've been working with, how does the lighting affect my mood and allow me to unwind? How is my furniture placed in my home that allows me to feel cozy and comfortable? So some things that we can do on a Cancer full moon, some of it is practical, is actually making food, making one of your grandmother's old soulful recipes. I did that this morning. It's a time to cozy up, to honor your body as home, to be extra sweet with yourself and with others. And so, we process our emotions with Cancer energy, and particularly by cultivating beauty. So this is a time to, take a rose petal bath, reflect on and honor the past. Cancer is also connected to dreams, so our dreams might be heightened, particularly with Jupiter in Pisces right now. Cancer and Pisces are both signs of imagination. So pay attention to your dreams, to the lighting in your home. Drink plenty of water. And, put one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and remind yourself to slow down your breathing to reflect the rhythm of the ocean. This Cancer full moon is on Monday, January 17th at 3:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at the 27th degree of Cancer. So you can look to your chart to see where that might be for you. And my own chart, this lines up with the point of fortune in my chart that I have in Cancer at the 29th degree. So the point of fortune, I'll just give you a little insight into that. The point of fortune, or the part of fortune in your chart, is where the sun, moon, and rising meet. And it will show where your sun, moon, rising gifts likely will open up into new opportunities for growth. and expansion. And so for me, I'm double Aquarius with Virgo moon, and it just so happens that my Aquarius sun, Aquarius rising, and Virgo moon meet at Cancer around the 29th degree. So I've always taken that as my work. Sixth house is very aligned with the moon, Cancer. So wherever you have Cancer in your chart is where you are moving through cycles and lunations. It's where you have a sense of, we could call it feminine wisdom or lunar wisdom. So where is Cancer in your chart? How do you embody this deeper connection to your home, to your health, to your overall well-being, and this mystical connection to the moon? Cancer is the sign that is ruled by the moon. And so having a Cancer full moon, it does heighten this full moon for us. And it makes me think of, we have to look at the season we're in. So Cancer is opposite on the wheel of Capricorn. So what's been going on in your life since December 22nd? This is when the sun entered Capricorn. And the energy of Capricorn, we find ourselves in collective earth, or what I like to call cosmic earth. And so it's two very opposing sounding words, but Capricorn, we must remember, is a collective or cosmic sign. Taurus is personal earth. Virgo is interpersonal earth, and then Capricorn is collective earth. And so there is an interest towards society here, towards groups, towards being public. So Capricorn is the sea goat. It's ambitious, it's practical, it's responsible, efficient, patient. These are some keywords that come to mind for Capricorn. But it's also important to recall that it is the sea goat. So Capricorn is coming from ancient past. It's coming from the ocean, and it's a figure that is evolving into a goat that is then climbing a mountain. And so Capricorn is connected to ancient past, and Cancer, the crab, is also connected to our ancestors, to our ancient wisdom, to our past lives. Both of these signs, Cancer and Capricorn, are on this axis. So during Capricorn season, it stretches out wide. Collective earth, it lays a solid foundation for which to build off of. And it is the new year, the patriarchal new year. And so in the northern hemisphere, I know of this time, it's winter solstice. It's the time that we go within. But I've also been completely structuring my life. I start the Fool's Journey, the 6-month journey through the tarot this time of year every year. It's also a time where I begin to refinance, or I put, new health goals in. I've been eating more healthy this time of year. Rest and recovery after, the buzz of Sagittarius season and the holiday season. So we're coming off of, some of you may have been traveling, some of you may have been partying. So this time of year, it really allows our more practical and resourceful, earthy self to step up to the podium. And it gives us this opportunity to present our most responsible, goal-oriented selves. And I think about, showing up to the gym regularly, or starting the second semester of school, or, looking all put together and greeting the world in a new way. I don't know, whatever you do during Capricorn season, how have you been more practical this time of year? Organization, integrity, perseverance. These are things that make Capricorn happy. And so it's, important to have Cancer, though, to balance that, because Capricorn energy, whether your sun, moon, rising, or whatever placements you have in Capricorn in your chart, can become masters at building walls around the innermost part of the being. And so it could appear, Capricorn energy could have us being a bit of a loner, more serious or somber or sober. And it's not to say that Capricorns aren't, fun. I find Capricorns to be quite humorous and playful, but it takes a little bit of getting in there. But as a Capricorn, balanced by Cancer, Capricorns are actually deeply sensitive, they may not show it outwardly. Capricorn as a collective earth sign really cares about others and building things and working hard, is dependable, particularly in times of crisis. Saturn as the ruling planet for Capricorn, it is very much about doing what is responsible, using one's resources to build something that is sustainable for the evolution of our Earth and of our planet. So we need Cancer to balance out Capricorn. And so this full moon in Cancer gives us the opportunity to meditate on this polarity in our chart. And particularly at this time, we have Pluto in Capricorn. We've had Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. Pluto is a generational planet, and it stays in a sign sometimes up to 20 years. And so since 2008, there has been a deep psychological transformation that is occurring. Pluto moves slow, a death and a rebirth process to all Capricorn themes in our life. And so, the easiest way to say is like death to the patriarchy, which I've seen people literally say during this time. But a very practical manifestation of this is I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and the Confederate statues have actually been taken down and removed. And there's not been anything to replace it yet. Something new will come. Pluto transformation takes a while, but there are physical representations, and Capricorn are the figureheads. Capricorn is the president. Capricorn is the statues that we put up. So and it's for the collective, right? It's these works of art that are there to symbolize something for the collective Earth, statues, but they're being taken down. And, something that I find interesting is that actually one of my students who's doing the mentorship right now, Liz, sent me a link to this article about the statues being taken down. But the reason why they sent it to me is because inside the base of one of the statues, an ephemeris was found. And an ephemeris is a tool that astrologers use to look at the degrees of the planets in the sky on any given day. And I found this quite interesting because Pluto on a soul level is about esoteric wisdom. So Pluto in Capricorn, death, rebirth to patriarchal structures, and out of it is revealed the esoteric wisdom that is within our government, our structures, our foundations. So I'm curious about this. And I'm curious about how this full moon across from Pluto in Capricorn, as we're heading into the United States Pluto return, which I'll give you those dates in a moment, what is being revealed to us on a deeper level. And so for those of us with strong Pluto transits, not everyone necessarily is attuned to Pluto. Pluto is the ruling planet for Scorpio and is the esoteric ruler for Pisces. So for Scorpio and Pisces, you might be more attuned to Pluto. Or for those of you who practice Plutonian themes, those of you that have Pluto as a practice in your life, this would be psychologists, esoteric practitioners, those who work with any themes around death and rebirth, psychological healing and awakening, shamanic practitioners. This is all Pluto, yeah? So for those of us that are working with the unseen forces of the universe, we're likely more attuned to Pluto and more aware of its transits. So yes, this Cancer full moon is here to balance Capricorn, but it's also balancing Pluto in Capricorn. So we're taking that into consideration. And so the moon, it indicates what we're deeply motivated by. And so Cancer moon is being more motivated by the emotional nature and the need for security and for home. And so Cancer is reminding Capricorn to be more sensitive, to allow themselves to feel, and to be in a state of deep rest and recovery, to pay attention to the imagination, to the nighttime lunar energy. Capricorn is our patriarchal calendar. Cancer is our moon calendar. And Cancer is here to remind Capricorn, and all of us that have Capricorn placements need to be reminded of Cancer, because we need to learn to trust more in our body, the wisdom of our body, It's making me think of two of my friends are pregnant right now, and both of them are on maternity leave. And so Cancer is reminding us that we are actually much more wild and intuitive than our patriarchal structures have set up for. But we need both. We need the balance of the both. And so Capricorn is also reminding us not to put all of our energy and time towards our hard work. We can do that this time of year particularly, but to remember our home, our family, our pets, the things that make us comfortable. So cozying up on this Cancer full moon is great. It's the vibe. And, I'm thinking of Betty White right now. We said we were going to look at her birth chart. And so Betty White was born January 17th, 1922. And this would have been Betty White's 100th birthday. She passed away on December 31st, 2021. Betty White, beloved actress, comedian, American icon, most known for Golden Girls. That's how I know Betty White, and I have the Golden Girls Tarot. So a little bit more about Betty White. Was an actress and a comedian, a pioneer of early television with a career spanning over 8 decades, giving us that longevity of Capricorn and that hard-working nature of being a very public person. Betty White was noted for her vast work in the entertainment industry. She was a Leo rising and was one of the first women to work both in front of and behind the camera. So she was the first woman to produce a sitcom, which was called Life with Elizabeth, which was contributed to her being named the honorary mayor of Hollywood in 1955. And Betty White is often referred to as the first lady of television, which I find interesting because our queen of Capricorn is Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. So there is something about the energy of being the First Lady is like this very public figure. So the First Lady of Television, which this is a title that was used for a 2018 documentary that was detailing her life and her career. And so we are honoring Betty White here on this full moon. It's so interesting that this full moon lines up with her actual birth date. And January 17th, 1922 at 6:38 p.m. in Oak Park, Illinois. And this is according to Astro Themes database. So yes, we see a Capricorn sun conjunct Venus. Venus and the sun aligned in the sky within 5 degrees of each other. So there's a conjunction here. So shining a beautiful light to the world, Venus next to the sun. Shining a light to themes of the feminine. Also, creative, an artist, Sun and Venus together, in the sign of Capricorn, doing it hardworking and diligently in a very public, goal-oriented manner. Had the moon in Virgo. There's more practicality coming in here, and it's moon trine the sun, moon trine Venus. And so that Virgo quality is interesting because it gives a bit more of intellectualism here. Virgo has that ability to communicate. A lot of comedians have Virgo energy, a lot of writers. She had Mercury in Aquarius, genius ideas that is going to connect us to the collective, Mercury in Aquarius. And as a Capricorn sun, I really feel her polarity to Cancer because she felt like a mother to many of us. Did you feel that way? She had that matriarchal quality and the emotion to come into our home and, being a part of the Golden Girls cast even. She reminds me of one of my grandmothers, Grandma Clarice. And then she's Leo rising with Neptune and Leo hanging out with the ascendant, Neptune rising. So Neptune is connected to film and TV, and in Leo, acting, comedy. So she is a hardworking, responsible sea goat, Capricorn sun, in a field harvesting wheat, Virgo moon, entertaining us all with her warmth, Leo rising. And that's exactly what she did through her life and her work. And so Betty White, thank you for all that you gifted the world. Happy birthday to you wherever in the cosmos you are on this beautiful Cancer full moon. so I have the full moon for this, the birth chart for this full moon up here. And I thought we would take a look at it. And so again, January 17th, 2022 at 6:48 p.m., I put Washington, D.C. in. And what I'm noticing here is the full moon is in opposition to Pluto in Capricorn, which we already talked about. 27th degree of Cancer, Pluto at the 26th degree of Capricorn. We also have the North Node of Fate has just shifted into Taurus. And so this nodal shift we may feel over the next year and a half. You know, the nodes of fate represent the direction of evolution that we're heading in. And so over the next year and a half, from January 18th of 2022 to July 17th of 2023, all of the Taurus parts of our heart and of our chart get to evolve over this time. And so we are being invited to explore Taurus in a new way. Taurus is connected to the five senses. It is a grounding energy. So you may feel a shift towards the more practical, reliable, hardworking nature of this fixed earth sign. You know, it is a time of finance, of investment, of connecting to your sensuality and your body, your fashion in a new way. Taurus is also enlightenment through nature. So in what ways are you reconnecting to the earth, to your sacred belongings, to your worth, to your value at this time? So we are likely feeling that shift in new ways, and I have been experiencing it in my life for sure. Look to see where Taurus is in your chart and where that might be inviting you to explore, which house it might be inviting you to explore. And so, yes, this full moon initiates that portal of the Taurus North Node. And so what it indicates on a practical level is that we'll have eclipse season during Taurus coming up this April, May, of 2022. We'll have eclipses on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. And so since the North Node has shifted into Taurus, it means the South Node is in Scorpio. So the Scorpio parts of our chart will be getting a deep clear out. This is the South Node, is things that we are releasing. It can also pull us into the shadow of that sign as well. So what's interesting about this is the South Node in many ways feels to me to be at home in the fixed water sign of Scorpio, because Scorpio likes to release things. Scorpio is connected to the anus, and the South Node has that quality of, purging, or I like to think of the South Node as a garbage disposal. What are we releasing to compost into something new? And so Scorpio has that similar invitation. So in many ways, our Scorpio placements also really get an opportunity to show what they can do. And so Scorpio is connected to psychology and therapy. So if you have a lot of Scorpio placements, know that your Scorpio energy is ready to transform and to release. And so we could very much utilize some sort of esoteric and occult practice or psychological practice to process our grief and the things that are ready to shed and die. And so over this year and a half period, it is deep ancestral healing that is taking place, but the invitation is not to get pulled entirely into Scorpio tendencies during this time, but to go rather towards Taurus as evolution. So if you are doing psychological processing over this year and a half, which that is likely going to occur for a lot of us. This could be a time where we're getting pulled into our grief, into our depression, into our secrets and our sexuality. And so the shadow of Taurus the shadow of Scorpio can be compulsion, obsession, darkness. If you're getting pulled into that, it's good. Go into it, but then come out into the light. Taurus is the light. It is spring. It is the third eye. It is enlightenment through nature. So how are you bringing your psychological processes going through the underworld into the body? So an example of this would be somatic therapy, processing your emotions, but through your body. Another example of this would be, yes, going into your sexuality, but not keeping a secret, actually embodying your sexuality through your fashion, Taurus. So this polarity is alive and awake. It is really activating the fixed signs. So also Aquarius and Leo are likely feeling this shift, but we're leaving behind the Sagittarius-Gemini axis. We've released our Sagittarian energy over the last year and a half. Easiest way to explain that was we were not invited to travel the world over the last year and a half. South Node in Sagittarius, we were invited to be more connected to our immediate surroundings, our neighborhood, to look at duality in the world and to build bridges between duality, North Node and Gemini. That is now shifting. So there is a shift in receiving a lot of information and communication, and to bring it more into Taurus. Taurus is coming after Gemini and saying, okay, you received all the information you need to build bridges between duality. Now embody it. Taurus does not like to say things more than once. Gemini will communicate back and forth, kind of like a ping pong match, until we find this recognition of truth. Taurus wants to say it once, very powerfully and resounding through the throat. Taurus is the mouth and the throat. I found a lot of symbols that represented the Taurus North Node for me on my walk. So sometimes I'll go on a walk with the energy. And some of the things that I thought were really cool was I found an Ella Fitzgerald book in one of the free box libraries. Ella Fitzgerald was actually my pick to be Queen of Taurus. Our Queen of Taurus is Cher, which is also an incredible representation of, the power of the voice and of the divine feminine and embodiment, empowerment. Ella Fitzgerald also had a booming voice, and finding that book on my walk I thought was really cool. Another way I'm noticing the shift in the Taurus North Node in this past week was there's a park close by my house, Laurelhurst Park, and I'm calling it the Laurelhurst Mansion because it's the biggest house that's right on the edge of the park, and it's under construction right now, and it's just the whole front yard is filled with mud, and there's a bulldozer in the front yard, and it's taking them quite a long time to make this construction. So in what ways are you reconstructing your life right now? Does it feel muddy? Do you feel stuck? And if so, how can you really grind in and commit with hard work? This is Taurus, but it's all to build something that's long lasting and that is more beautiful. And I imagine eventually this Laurelhurst mansion will have like a gorgeous front yard with flowers. So I think of botanical gardens with Taurus. We enjoy it. There's this beautiful rose garden here, but someone is working really hard to make that happen, and it takes money. This is all Taurian. Across the street from that mansion, one of the neighbors was giving away free bricks. There's like a stack of free bricks, and that felt like Taurus North Node to me too. But coming off of Gemini, which is the neighborhood. So we're right on this cusp energy. It's Taurus North Node right now at the 29th degree, right there on the cusp of Gemini. And it's interesting because now that I'm saying that, Ella Fitzgerald was a Taurus sun with a Gemini moon. So this is the message that's also coming through is remember, we still have the bits of the Gemini North Node that we're integrating and processing. Another symbol, which is interesting, is the on my walk, I walked by my dog's favorite tree, which is a dog treat tree. And so there's all these little treats hanging off of the branches of this tree. And again, this feels like the Taurus Gemini cusp to me because it's the neighbors are putting out all these little fairy treats for the dogs, but it's a tree. Taurus is connected to nature and it's connected to food and nourishment. So more of this mutable air Gemini, playful neighborhood energy starting to ground. How are you sensing this in your life? One way that I'm sensing this, and this also feels like Gemini going into Taurus, is that right now I am working on writing books. I know I've been talking about that. North Node and Gemini I thought was going to be me writing books, but didn't really happen. There was just a lot happening over the last year and a half. But Taurus wants to manifest things. And so we're taking the idea of Geminis, all the ideas we received over Gemini, and bringing it into the physical realm. And so for me, this is actually manifesting in book triplets is what I'm calling it. It's not twins, it's triplets. A tarot book, an astrology book, a zodiac queen's book. They want to come through.
So over the next year, hopefully I'm writing these, and over the next year and a half while the North Node is in Taurus. So that's, something to be looking for in your own life, is in what ways are you grounding, materializing, and bringing something into the earthly realm. So it's very exciting, particularly here at the end of Capricorn season, to have this shift into the North Node in Taurus, particularly on this Cancer full moon. So if we are into the invitations of Cancer, which is home and family and nurturance and healing, the North Node in Taurus says, and yes, towards the earth, towards our body, towards nature, towards our art. So supporting artists. I'm supporting queer artists right now and buying new artwork for my home. And the thing is that is so mystical about Taurian energy is that when you invest in yourself, it comes back to you. And you build and you grow and you embody, as long as it is in alignment with your spirit and your soul and that which you are here to step into and embody and empower. Owning things is okay. So for some of you, I know there's a big chunk of you who have Chiron and Taurus. This is some healing work for you. And a lot of you have done this healing and are teaching others how to heal their self-worth. So look to see what you have in Taurus and what is going to be evolving for you over the next year and a half and growing. The parts of you that are in the shadow of Taurus will really get to come into the light. And so happy shift for those of you with North Node in Taurus. This is your nodal return. The animal that came to me that I've been working with right now, you would think it was a bull. Or you would think it was a cow because this is Taurus's animal. But the animal I've been working with right now is the iguana. And in many ways, this holds a lot of Taurian traits to me. But whatever animal you're working with right now, just working with nature is great. Why does the iguana connect me to Taurus? They're patient. They're quiet. They're kind. They kind of lay low until a threat passes. So it does inspire us to sharpen our psychic abilities. Remember, Taurus is the third eye. It's psychic and intuitive abilities through this grounded, sensual, embodied approach. And so the presence of iguana for me promotes this ability to embrace a simple life, to connect with nature. That's what I receive from the iguana. When I meditate on it, it's also about shedding things. The iguana sheds. And so this helps me connect to the Scorpio South Node, shedding things, anything in your life that isn't bringing you closer to accomplishing your goals and towards being more grounded and joyful. So this, is something that I think is nice to meditate on, is what kind of animals, and nature connect you. Flowers. I have two quotes here that I think are great for the Taurus North Node. Are not flowers the stars of the earth? This is from Clara Lucas Balfour. Are not flowers the stars of the earth? And here's another quote. Talking to plants is one way of talking directly to spirit. Rosemary Gladstar. Talking to plants is one way of talking directly to spirit. I feel both of these revolving from Scorpio into Taurus here. And this is the invitation for us with this Taurus North Node. What else do we have going on? We're going to talk about Mercury retrograde for a bit and Venus retrograde, because that's themes that we're moving through right now and into, Aquarius season. So the sun enters Aquarius coming up on January 20th. So this full moon, we're culminating at the end of Capricorn season. The sun shifts into Aquarius, and now we get to break our New Year's resolutions. We get to rebel against them. This is a time, Aquarius collective air, where we shift from our responsibilities and we get more interested in about our ideas and the information and the ways that we are communicating out with other people. And it is a time to set ourselves free and to liberate ourselves. But Saturn is still in Aquarius. Saturn has been in Aquarius since March of 2020. So there are rules for Aquarius. There are rules for humanity and the collective. There's social distancing still in place. There is structures that we need to take in order to be responsible, Saturn, for the community, Aquarius. So Saturn entered Aquarius in March of 2020 and stays there until March of 2023. So there's about another year of the obstacles around Aquarian parts of our chart. So, how are you being more responsible about the information that you're sharing? How are you really putting in new structures in your life for all of your radical ideas to come through? So this is something to consider as we head into Aquarius season. Meanwhile, Mercury is retrograde from January 14th through February 4th, and it's Mercury traveling to the 10th degree of Aquarius and then back to the 24th degree of Capricorn. And this is a theme for us in 2022. The Mercury retrogrades all go from air back into earth, and there is a sense of a similar pattern of Gemini North Node retrogrades into Taurus North Node. The nodes of fate always go in retrograde motion, by the way, but we're going from Gemini, our ideas, our communications, our thought, our socialization, into the manifestation of the earthly realm, of the things that we were wanting to form and to ground into and to embody. This is being echoed by Mercury this year in 2022. All of our Mercury retrogrades go into air and come back into earth. And so this one is traveling to the 10th degree of Aquarius, back to the 24th degree of Capricorn. I find this interesting for a lot of reasons. One, because it's been such an Aquarian few years. Saturn and Jupiter were in Aquarius, and a lot of focus on humanity and the collective. So Mercury, the messenger, is going into the collective sign of Aquarius, and then back to Capricorn and crossing over the Pluto point in the United States birth chart. And we know we're coming up on the first Pluto return for the United States on February 22nd, 2022. So over this Mercury retrograde time period, it is a time for us to rethink, to reflect, to go within around the ways in which we are sharing information in the collective. And so for some of us in our own personal life, if we're not connected to humanity at large, which it's kind of hard not to be right now, this is a time where you might be feeling this energy in your communities, your collectives, whatever groups you're a part of. Even listening to this podcast, it's an astrology podcast. This is very Aquarian. And so maybe it's a time, Mercury in Aquarius, where you go back and listen to old episodes. Could be. Or maybe you're actually taking a break and not even listening to this podcast episode. But either way, Mercury in Aquarius does feel like a time to pull back from social media, from the internet, from friend groups, to reflect. And Aquarius is a sign connected to the cosmos and the stars, and it needs space. So Mercury retrograde in Aquarius is a time period for us to gift ourselves spaciousness around our thoughts and our communication. If you are a writer, you are connected to Mercury. And so Mercury in Aquarius is the big vision, the big ideas. Going back into Capricorn, how are we manifesting it? How is this supporting you practically? This is a theme for all of the Mercury retrogrades this year. Remember, is how are we taking those big ideas of air, of community, of thought, into things that are sustainable and practical and of service? So Mercury in Aquarius going back into Capricorn, how are you taking all of your radical ideas that are here to help expand the consciousness of the community and bringing it into a public platform, Capricorn, that is allowing you to build your career and the ways in which you are a responsible, goal-oriented adult. So this is our Mercury retrograde, and it's somehow connected to this Pluto return, which is an initiation for the United States. And there's another retrograde happening right now, Venus in Capricorn. And this is also connected to the Pluto return in many ways as well, because Venus is traveling past the Pluto return point in the retrograde motion. And then Okay, let's rewind. Venus entered Capricorn on November 5th, 2021. So it's been there for quite some time. And stationed retrograde at the 26th degree of Capricorn on December 18th, 2021. So most of December, Venus, at least the second week of December, Venus was just hanging out with Pluto. And then stationed retrograde on December 18th and is traveling all the way back to the 11th degree of Capricorn and stations direct on January 29th. And on March 3rd, Venus will join with Pluto in the sky and then enters Aquarius on March 6th with Mars in Aquarius. So Venus is our love nature. It is our way of relating and giving and receiving. It's connected to money and finance and beauty. So Venus in Capricorn, takes a serious approach to love. Venus in Capricorn wants to really be responsible and moral and ethical when it comes to exchanging and giving and receiving. So over this time period, it has been a time for us to really go within ourselves and reflect on relationships in our life and how those are reflective of the responsible person that we are growing and building into. So Venus retrograde time can be a time where we, release relationships that no longer are supporting us. In Capricorn, it can be releasing jobs that are no longer in alignment. It is a time for us to really come back to what our values are, and particularly as it relates to the earth. And it is connected to this Pluto return. So both Mercury and Venus are transiting back over the Pluto return point for the United States. And so we're getting more clear on what our thoughts and our values are around these themes in our life. And so what patriarchal structures in your life are wanting to die, are wanting to transform? Venus in Capricorn, it's like, what have you inherited from your parents and from the patriarchy and from society about what relationship and love should look like? What have you inherited around the ways that we are told that we should make money in this world? Venus in Capricorn, the soul work here is to release oneself from the binds of a modern patriarchal world and to really pull up one's bootstraps and get to work doing what one loves in the world, and not necessarily subscribing to the societal norms. Capricorn energy can be quite subversive to authority. So Venus in Capricorn, she works for herself, and she doesn't care what society tells her is right and wrong. It is the belief in one's own self and in the collective evolution of this planet. Capricorn, being a cardinal earth sign, is quite determined and has an activist-like quality to it that is wanting to build not only for the self, but for a world in need. So, all of this is setting up nicely for the Pluto return to the United States. And so again, Pluto takes about 248 years to go around the sun. And so if we use the United States Sibley birth chart, which is July 4th, 1776, the United States had Pluto in Capricorn at the 27th degree. And this year, 2022, we get 3 hits of the Pluto return: February, July, and December. It's all year. We've been in the Pluto return since 2019. Really, it's about a 5 to 6 year time period. So we're crossing the midpoint of that. So the whole pandemic has been part of the Pluto return. And Saturn and Pluto aligned in Capricorn at the 21st degree in 2020, right at the start of the pandemic on January 12th of 2020. So it being January 17th, 2022 right now, we've been 2 years into a global pandemic. Capricorn is the globe at large, and Saturn is structures, and Pluto is death to the structures on the globe. So we've been in it, and it is also this threshold of an initiation for the United States. So structures around us, again, are transforming and dying, but Pluto takes time, and it's underneath the surface. And so we may not even fully know the way that it is materializing for years to come, particularly in Capricorn, because Capricorn also takes time. So what we really need to be looking towards is the Pluto and Capricorn generation. So these are babies born from 2008 to 2024. Babies born in this time period will likely have Pluto and Capricorn in their birth chart, unless they are part of the cusp energy, which Pluto dips into Aquarius in 2023 and then goes back into Capricorn. But either way, this generation of folks is generation of a new order, a generation of transforming our structures. And so it's going to be this generation that really, of people, babies being born right now, that are here to help facilitate and build in new structures and growth in government and in society. But we're in the process now. And so to be alive at this time during a nation's first Pluto return, it is a powerful time. And, we have all in some way shown up here and now to help facilitate in this experience as well. And so it is asking all of us to really step up to the podium, which is Capricorn, of our higher self, to inaugurate our hearts and to fully come into our power. Pluto is power. So, it's not light. This is not light invitation. And so I'm encouraging all of us to be gentle this year as we are moving through a death-birth portal for the nation. And that creates ripples around the globe, as it is Capricorn, which is global. And we're all moving through the threshold of a global pandemic wherever you are on the planet. So if you aren't in the United States, how are you experiencing Pluto in Capricorn at its final degrees? Because that's the thing, is we're all experiencing this final few degrees of Capricorn. And so this feels like a good time for us to transition into honoring Martin Luther King Jr., who was a Capricorn sun at the 25th degree. The United States Pluto is at the 27th degree. So Martin Luther King Jr. was shining a light, sun, shining consciousness to that which was dying and transforming in our government. So Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15th, 1929, at 12 p.m. in Atlanta, Georgia. This is according to astrotheme.com's database. We'll look at his chart. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist minister and activist who became the most visible spokesman and leader in the American Civil Rights Movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. So the most visible spokesman, Capricorn is about being seen in the public. And he had Capricorn sun conjunct his Capricorn midheaven. Sun up at the top of the chart is someone who is likely well known and seen for shining a light, holds a leadership role, particularly in Capricorn, right? It feels so important for us to be reflecting on these themes right now and connecting to Martin Luther King Jr.'s life as we head into our Pluto return in the United States. So, and everything that we've been experiencing while Pluto's been in Capricorn, it has very much spoken to the light that he was shining forth to the world. So he advanced the civil rights through nonviolence and civil disobedience. He was the son of early civil rights activist and minister Martin Luther King Sr., and Martin Luther King Jr. participated in and led marches for blacks' right to vote, desegregation, labor rights, and other basic civil rights. So in 1955, he led the Montgomery bus boycott and later became the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And he helped organize the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his famous speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, which, by the way, Abraham Lincoln had Moon in Capricorn at the 28th degree. So on a deeper unconscious level, Abraham Lincoln, the moon, is the unconscious, was speaking to the transformations, Pluto, that were taking place in the government and in the patriarchy in the United States birth chart. So it's interesting, all this like into the Capricorn sign, the final degrees of Capricorn are connected to these figures that had very public appearance. And so Abraham Lincoln as a Capricorn moon, Martin Luther King Jr. as a Capricorn sun on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, delivering the speech, "I Have a Dream," which brings us to Martin Luther King Jr.'s moon in Pisces, which is the sign of the dream. Moon conjunct Venus in Pisces in the 11th house of the collective, with Mercury and Aquarius in the 10th house, communicating to the collective for equal rights for all, making information available to all people, Mercury and Aquarius in the 10th, in a very public-oriented way. Who are we speaking to? The 11th house, mothers and families, moon, Venus to artists and creatives, and dreams, Pisces, spirituality, his connection to ministry, but also connection to that which is beyond. Had Saturn in Sagittarius, commitment, Saturn to religion and to philosophy, Saturn in Sagittarius, square to moon in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, which is the deeper well of universal compassion in the collective 11th house. And then was a Taurus rising, I think of the Hierophant card in the tarot is Taurus, which it is using one's voice to connect people to ritual and to the body and stepping up into one's power. And he also had North Node in Taurus in his chart in the first house. It's an honor to look at his birth chart and to honor him and his life and his legacy. If we ever do Zodiac Kings, will likely be on a throne next to Michelle Obama, Queen of Capricorn, as King of Capricorn. There's a lot of other Capricorn figures to honor for the Zodiac Kings, but it does feel like, for me, like he would be the one that we would honor for King of Capricorn. But I thought, we would listen to some of his speech. I know many people who are listening to this, if you partake in our Capricorn structures, you likely have the day off. If you don't, and you're working like me, then it's still great for us to pause and to reflect on the history of this nation, the United States, or wherever you are in the world, to just honor, the history of this globe. And that's something, as we're moving through the threshold of a Pluto return for a country, that this is a time for us to really go into the past and to process the past collectively, because it's in Capricorn, collective Earth here. And so, carving out that space for us to all process, the racism that this country was built on, the segregation, misogyny, homophobia, all of it. And a lot of that's been coming to light over this Pluto and Capricorn transit. But I am taking this portion of the podcast for us to really honor this time period that we're moving through by also honoring the life of this figure. And so the I Have a Dream speech was a public speech that was delivered on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom on August 28th, 1963, in which he called for a civil and economic rights and an end to racism in the United States. And it was delivered to over 250,000 civil rights supporters from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and the speech was a defining moment of the civil rights movement and is among the most iconic speeches in history. So this audio clip that I'm going to share with you is under the applicable copyright laws. The speech will remain under copyright in the United States until 70 years after King's death through 2038, and I'm playing this as an honoring of Martin Luther King Jr. and as a teaching tool for astrology. And so let's listen to a clip of this speech now.
Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every inside. Let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring
Hearing Martin Luther King Jr. go through all of the different mountainsides is so reminiscent of the energy of Capricorn, which is connected to the mountain and the vastness of nature and of collective earth. So connecting to the actual land that we live on is an invitation of Capricorn and this time of year, and being a voice for the collective earth, whether that is being a voice for nature or a voice for all those who have the right to be here on this planet. And on this Cancer full moon, we're invited to illuminate some of these greater themes around the United States Pluto return, as this Cancer full moon is in direct opposition to Pluto and Capricorn. You know, both Cancer and Capricorn are signs connected to history and to our ancient past. And so listening to that speech on this day, January 17th of 2022, we're honoring Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and for the legacy that he lived and gifted to us here. You know, I hear in a beautiful symphony of brotherhood was something that he said in the speech, and it made me think of his Pisces Moon. You know, Pisces is about symphony and music, and it's in the 11th house, which is the house of sisterhood, brotherhood, siblinghood, collective, community. Reminding you that, you know, that Jupiter just entered Pisces. We are at the end of a threshold at the beginning half of this year of 2022. And Jupiter will enter Aries in the middle of May of this year. And so this Cancer full moon is communicating with that Jupiter and Piscean energy. So this is a time for us to be in rest and recovery, to dream, to pay attention to our inspirations and spirits, and to release and to forgive and to pray and to process, while also shifting towards a lot of earth. We've got this North Node in Taurus that's reminding us to ground into our body. We have Mercury going from an air sign into earth sign all year during the retrograde periods this year. We have Venus retrograde in Capricorn. How are we bringing our ideas into reality? How are we bringing our social relationships into more responsibility and greater integrity? This is a time to be equally spiritual and emotional, as it is a time to move slower, to be practical, to get to work. So I'm wishing for you an easeful next few days under the light of this Cancer full moon as we move into Aquarius season. And I'll see you next time for the Aquarius new moon. If you'd like to support the show, you can become a Patreon supporter. You could book a reading with me. I offer 90-minute astrology and tarot readings. I also have 2 slots open for mentorships this coming March, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one. And thank you as always for being here. Take sweet care, cousins, and remember, deep breaths.